Hey, this is Troy Taylor with the Championship Football Coaches Clinic podcast, sponsored by Rack Coach. I have Coach Bill Mountjoy, my mentor. I just got off a FaceTime call with his mutual friend, Coach McNally. Coach McNally is now a Twitter guru, and I've been able to coach him up over. I've only known him for a day, but now I got Coach Mountjoy, my mentor for 20 plus years. He pretty much taught me everything I know about football that I didn't learn from LC Bird's coaches. And just excited to have Coach talk about his dropback game, because when I was a kid growing up in Chesterfield, Virginia, there was one team that was really throwing the ball, and that was Matoka High School, and he was the offensive coordinator. I knew the quarterback's name was Craig Akins, but I didn't know who the coach was, and Coach Bill Mountjoy was the offensive coordinator. So, Coach Mountjoy, so glad to have you back on here to talk about your drop back game. How you doing today, Coach?
Great, Troy. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I got done talking to a coach and was from Illinois. Now he's in Tennessee. He wrote a book about confessions of a high school coach. Coach, I don't think there's enough pages to write my confessions. What about you?
Well, I don't know. You have one chapter on the good and another chapter on the bad.
Yeah.
that would do.
So, Coach,
it's a funny ride. You know, when I started in 1960, and you have the highlights and those years that you struggle either because you didn't have a great team or because you had a weird group of people you were working with. But anyway, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So, Coach, I think when I started, I think I might have been sharing the 50-51 diagram. I'm going to go ahead and share that with everybody. I took it down and I'm bringing it back up. As you know, Coach, I'm the low man on the totem pole. I don't even know how I even got on here doing this, but I figured it out, Coach. And I've been blessed enough to meet people like you, Coach. So this is 50-51's up there, Coach. Do you see it?
Yeah, you might need to take my picture and move it to the right a little bit.
All right, Coach, I'm gonna take your picture down if you don't mind.
Yeah, take now that down.
Okay, I remember a coach once told me that one crazy woman is enough for a lifetime. And Coach, I don't want to be driving any women wild by putting that coach a picture of Bill Mountjoy when he was the head coach at Deep Creek up there. All right.
That was kind of an idealized picture. If they would see me today, I hadn't shaved in 2 weeks. I look like a werewolf. If you put me on that today, you'd scare some people to death.
Coach, you're the best, man. So I got 50-51 up there. You see it. Everybody watching the podcast, I figured it out with Coach Mountjoy how to get this thing going, and we're excited. He's going to be on here at least twice a week, and Coach McNally's going to be on here probably at least twice a week. So, Coach, I'm excited to hear you talk about your drop back game.
Okay, want me to get going?
Get going, Coach. You got it.
All right. Last week, I think it was probably a week ago, might have been less than a week, we talked about what I call the 60 series, which is a quick passing game. And if the quarterback's under center, he would take 3 steps. If he was in a gun, he would pistol, he would just take the snap and pivot and throw without taking any further steps. So that was the 60 series, and we've covered that in detail. And they can, if they want to see that, they can go back to your last podcast with me. But today we will talk about the 50 series, which is the quarterback is taking 5 steps if he's under center. And if he's in the gun or pistol, he will take 3 steps and throw. An important thing, let's say, for example, if the quarterback's under center in the 50 series, he's going to set up at 6 or 7 yards deep. He's going to set in 1.3. And we were really adamant on these times, and we usually get them. I know quarterbacks vary, but we usually get these times. We're set up at 1.3. And he's going to throw the ball anywhere from 1.8 to 2.3. And the reason there's a difference there, if we were to throw a sideline pass and we wanted the ball in the air before he turned his head, it would come out in 1.8. But if we were going to throw a curl and we wanted the wide receiver to work open, let's say in a hole in the coverage, we'd throw it in 2.3. But that's the 50 series. And I've already covered, we run this out of 6 formations, essentially. We have basically the basic formation setups. you can see some of them will be on here, but not all of them. If anybody wants the formations, they can feel free to email me. I'll send them to them. But we have we base out of 3 12 personnel formations. One of them is a 2x2 alignment, and the other's a 3x1. And we base out of 3 11 personnel formations, one being a 2x2 and the other being a 3x1. And of course, I think everybody knows 12 personnel means 1 running back, 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers, and 11 personnel means 1 running back, 1 tight end, and 3 wide receivers. What you see on the screen there is what we call that flood formation. That is 12 personnel because the H-back is in tight. He's tight like a tight end off the ball. If the H-back were to move that further to his right, 5 yards or more, would be 11 personnel because he'd then be more of a wide receiver. And the protection on this is the same as we did on the 60 series. We're into 7-man protection. I can use a little 6. I don't use any 5-man protection. But in that 7-man protection, you can see in this diagram, we are free releasing 3 people, H, Z, and X. And we're check releasing 2 people. That means they got to check blitz before they go out. And that's Y and R. So that's 7-man protection with 3 free releases and 2 check releases. And we work real hard on getting the check releases, Y and R in this case, getting them out fast. They check on the run, and then they just get on out in the pattern for flare control. So the very important aspect of this is probably the most important thing I can tell you is our read concepts. And I've covered this in a previous talk, and that's something else that if anybody wants this, that I can send them our read concepts. So our definition, I hear people talk about past concepts. Everybody means something different when I talk to them about that. But our definition of a pass concept is to categorize all of our passes into one of the following concepts, according to the quarterback's read of the progression of receivers. So what a concept means to us, if we put 5 passes into one concept, into the same concept, it would be that the quarterback's read of the progression of receivers would be the same in all 5 of those passes. And we essentially have 3 main ones. We horizontally stretch the defense from side to side. And if we horizontally stretch from inside out, it means we progress from inside out. Or we horizontally stretch them outside in, meaning we're going to progress from outside in. And if we vertically stretch a defense, we're going to stretch it from long to intermediate to short in 1/3 of the field. Now, knowing what I just said about our quarterback read concepts of a horizontal stretch inside out, a horizontal stretch outside in, or a vertical stretch from long to short, that's going to be important, and you will see that alluded to and explained in this diagram. This is the first pass in our 50 series, 50-51. Now, our numbering system is weird. 50 means that denotes a protection, and the 0 and 1 means the pattern. If we call 50, that means the protection call is to the right. If we call 51, it's the same pass, but everything's to the left. And most people don't do that, but we did that. We got it from Florida State when Bobby Bowden was there. So anyway, that's some things that are important. We have another concept we call object receiver read. That's when we tell the quarterback who to look for. Say, for example, that diagram, if we said 50 pass, look for Z. That's an object receiver read. He would then look only for Z and not read his progression of receivers. But if we said 50 pass and we didn't tell him to look for Z, I'll get into the reads with you coming up. And they would fit into the horizontal stretch or the vertical stretch concepts. So as you see that, we have the number 1 receiver, that's on the far X on the right. He's running a hitch. The number 2 receiver, who is Z, is running a corner. And the number 3 receiver, who is H, is going to take the hash. But as he goes up the hash, if the middle's open, he will bend it to the near upright. The R-back is checking blitz. Normally it's a linebacker, inside linebacker. The R-back checks blitz, and he sits down over the ball about 5 yards deep in case we have to check the ball down to it. Y, who we rarely have a go to Y on this, but he is going to check blitz, say an outside linebacker blitz or whatever, and then run a corner. All right, take that up a little bit.
Yes, sir.
Just going up so I can explain that. All right, well, come on back down. Keep coming down. Come on down so you can still see a little of the diagram down. Oh, right there, that's good. All right. So we said the number 3 receivers on a seam post, the number 2 receivers on a corner, the number 1 receivers on a hitch. The quarterbacks will take a 5-step drop. Bring that down another inch, baby. Yeah, right there. Quarterback's taking a 5-step drop. Now, this pass has both a horizontal stretch concept and a vertical stretch concept in it. And teaching our quarterbacks this way, it really helps them to understand where to go with the ball and where the receivers are. So we tell the quarterback, 5-step drop. If the middle of the field is open, you're going to progress from the number 3 man to the number 2 man. So in other words, he's progressing from H to Z if the middle's open. Middle's open, H will go to the middle. He'll try to hit him, but if the safety jumps him, he'll go to Z. I might add this pass is great against cover 2. Although when we're in that 3-1 set, sometimes they won't play cover 2, and we can throw this from a 2-2 set. But we like this pass from a 3-1 set because we need to get the 3rd receiver down the middle. And if he's coming out of the backfield, that's hard to do. So anyway, if the middle's open, the quarterback's going to progress from the middle receiver to the to the H receiver in the middle to the middle man in the flood there, who is Z. That's a horizontal stretch because he's going laterally from left to right. Now, if the middle of the field is closed, there's a safety sitting in the middle of the field, then H is most likely not going to be primary. So then we would vertically stretch the defense looking from 2 to 1. That means we're looking first for Z and second for X. And we're throwing that probably, if it's a off the flat coverage man. But anyway, so that pass, 50-51, is one of our best passes on cover 2. And it is a combination, conceptually, a combination of a horizontal stretch if the middle of the field is open and a vertical stretch if the middle of the field is closed. All right. A lot of people refer to that as a smash route. That's what Lindy and Fonte call the smash. All right. Go to the next pass. I'll take these one at a time. There's not but about 5 or 6 of them.
Yes, sir.
Whoa. Take it up higher. Take it up a little bit, but no, you got to go the other way. Take the next pass, 52-53. Whoa, right there. All right, 52-53. Now, we run a mirrored concept of the wide receivers. So you can see both wide receivers are running a post. And everybody says, well, you can't have 2 guys running a post or collide in the middle of the field. Well, that isn't really true because we have both receivers breaking to the near upright, and the one away from the call, in this case, that's X. It could be called to the left. Everything on this could be called to the other side. But the middle receiver, the outside receiver on the left, X, is running a post, but he's not on the call side. So we tell him, when you get to the hash, turn up the hash and don't go any further into the middle of the field. Leave the middle of the field for Z, who is, in this case, on 52 pass, he's the call side wide receiver because the pass is called to the right. The protection set to the right. Now, since we run mirrored routes, if the defense tells us to throw the ball to the left, then X would be the primary and Z would be the backside. X would be call side, Z would be backside. Not call side in terms of the call of the pass, but the quarterback's reads would take him to X. And you can see that we say that 52 and 53 pass are 3-level vertical stretches. What that means is we throw it to the right, we're coming vertically from Z down to Y down to R. That's a 3-level vertical stretch. But if our quarterback's read tells him to throw it to the left, and that's where the full field choices come in. Quarterback's read tells him to throw to the left. It's a 2-level vertical stretch because then he's going to progress from X down to H. Now, the quarterback's reads are like this. On the snap, your eyes must be fixed on your trigger read. Trigger means that whoever you read is going to trigger you to one side of the field or the other. Determining 53 pass as a weak safety. And we tell the quarterback, now this is all after the snap, not a pre-snap read, but a post-snap read. And we'll tell the quarterback, you must determine no later than your second step away from setup which side of the field you're attacking so that you can begin to look for your progression of receivers and have the proper choice made no later than your fifth step hitting the ground. And it's interesting to note that our progression read determines who the number one receiver is. This is very important. Our progression reads always determine who the number one receiver is. So if the progression read tells us to throw to Z, he's the number one choice. But the second and third choice would then go to the progression of receivers. The direction tells us which wide receiver is primary, and then if he's covered, we progress to his side. So if the trigger tells us to throw to Z, read, if he's covered, we're going to then look for Y or R. But if our trigger read tells us to go to X, if he's covered, then we go to H. So the directional read, trigger read tells us which wide receiver is primary, who to go to, and then if he's covered, we follow the progression to his side. We don't go back to the other side. We don't change sides of the field once we pick a side. Take that up a little higher so I can read down lower. Just well. All right. Let me see. All right. Once you have been triggered to one side of the field or the other, you must stay to that side and never look back to the other side. Reason for that is that on this pass, we want the ball to come out between 1.8 and 2.3, depending on how soon the wide receiver comes open. If you hit him on the break, it might be 1.8. If he's not open on the break, he might work open at 2.3, but never later than that. It's a 0.5 of a second difference in that. We don't have time to look to one side after the snap and look back to the other side. Once we pick the side, we stay to that side. That's really important. Then it says, A, if the weak safety goes away from the call, that would be left in the above diagram. Then you work the call side progression from long to intermediate to short. Long would be the post, intermediate would be the out, and short would be the R back. B, if the weak safety goes to the call, that means if he's lined up in the middle or work to the right, work away from the call side from long to intermediate to short. Long would be the post, and second would be the intermediate, would be the HOI on and out. So we only have 5 passes, and we run from 6 formations, and we motion a lot on these. We'll motion receivers from one place to the other to get where we want them to run these patterns. And this pass, 52-53 pass, is our best pass against cover 0 because there's no free safety in the middle of the field. Normally cover 0 is a blitz, so we've got 7-man protection to pick the blitz up. And if it's 0 coverage with no safety in the middle of the field, then one of the posts ought to go for a touchdown. Darren Prairie used to audible to this pass on cover 0 at Deep Creek. We won 2 games in our championship season just hitting this pass and checking to this pass from another pass against cover 0 for blitz flow. All right, there's no question on that. Go to the third pass. All right, 54-55 pass. That's the double sidelines. And this is our best pass on quarter coverage, cover 4, and it's real good on cover 3 as well. And if you look down where it says 54-55 pass, 54 is if the call was to the right, 55 is if the call was to the left, which would be the opposite of what you see there. So it says outside the end horizontal stretch. So we're stretching the defense laterally from side to side. If you exclude those dotted lines, I have Y. That Y can be tagged around a corner, but normally he runs that little turnout at 8 yards. So that's an outside-in horizontal stretch. And we're going to progress from the wide receiver, if we're going to the right, back to the tight end, and last to the R back. I might add this. We don't like to go late into the middle, so I'll tell our quarterbacks, don't throw the ball to the R back on this unless you know he's wide open. But don't tell him you're not going to throw it to him because he'll loaf. But we don't like to go late in the middle. And even though this is a horizontal stretch from outside in, we're normally going to progress from Z to Y. Or if we get triggered to the other side, we'll progress from X to H. ours there, particularly if we were throwing to the right side, but we normally, unless a press box, see, they totally ignoring him. We won't throw the ball to R on this. Take it up a little higher. Take it up some. Yeah, all right, whoa. Come back down some. Coming back down just a little bit. All right, that's good. All right, on the snap of the ball, the quarterback's eyes are fixed on his trigger read to trigger him to one side of the field or the other. And see, that's full field. We don't full field read in that. I don't tell the quarterback to look for 5 receivers across the field. We say we can go to either side of the field, but we're going to let the defense tell us which side to go to. That's the difference. So we're triggering to one side of the field or the other to determine if you're going to go to the call side, which is to the right in this diagram, or the away side, which is to the left. And the trigger read on 54-55 pass is the weak safety. You must determine no later than your second step away from the center, after the snap, of course, which side of the field you're attacking so that you can begin to look for your progression of receivers and have the proper choice made no later than your fifth step hitting the ground. Once you have been triggered to one side of the field or the other, you stay to that side and never look back to the other side. And remember, this is a great pass on cover 3 and cover 4. If they were to roll up to a cover 2, the wide receivers would convert to a fade, but I don't particularly want to get forced to do that. And we wouldn't call this pass. We would be getting a steady dive of cover 2. All right, so anyway, the weak safety goes away from the call. That means he goes to the left here, a weak roll or something. Work the call side progression from outside in, looking first for the flat, which flat zone that is. It's a sideline pass, but it's the flat area. X and Z are running it out. Second to the curl, which is the tight end running a little turnout. And third to the hook, the R back in the hook zone, the R back on the circle route. Now, B, if the weak safety goes to the call, he stays in the middle of the field or goes towards the call, which is right in the above diagram. Then we're going to progress him outside in to the flat zone, which is X on the sideline, back into the curl zone, which is H on that little turnout. And we work this thing. We'll have this thing. We'll put it in the first Monday in August. And by the middle of August, we've got this thing totally in. We have it in, and we just rep it the rest of the year. We don't add plays. I never add passes. If we start practice the first Monday in August, and we're going to play our first game the first Friday in September, we have all that pass offense in before September 1st, usually by middle August 15th, so we can just rep the crap out of it and not be adding stuff. We can tag any of these. For example, I can say on this pass, a tag is an addition to the pass. I can say 54 pass, Z out and up, in which he runs the sideline and turns up. That's a tag. We can do some tags, but we're not going to change these basic passes and the protection and all that as the year goes on. All right, if there are no questions, go to the next pass, the 54, 55, 56, 57 pass.
Yes, sir.
There we go. All right. 56, 57 is our number one pass against cover 3. Because we've got 5 receivers attacking the underneath zones against only 4 defenders. And we figure that probably 3-2 on the call side and 2-1 on the away side. We figure we will have somebody open on that. I might add that on this pass, Darren Perry completed 66% of these for the season, which is pretty good in high school. And Craig Akins was 65-66% of the completions on this pass. And cover 3, and I noticed that cover 3, you still see a lot of it in high school ball, particularly around here or where you are. And I don't like cover 3. It's too easy to take apart. And this is one of the main reasons. But anyway, you see, and before we go to the writing down at the bottom, what will happen, all of these passes, they're completed 12 yards and under. Wide receivers will take 9 steps, and he's going to come back 3 steps to the quarterback. So he's going to catch that ball at 12 yards deep. He might push to 13 or 14 yards, but he's going to come back and catch the ball 11 or 12 yards deep. We don't ever want to catch that less than 10 yards, because if it's 3rd and 10 and we throw this pass, we want a first down out of it. This is a first down pass for us. A lot of times, if we got a 3rd and 10, we'll throw this pass on 3rd down to get the first down. But anyway, what happens? We're trying to defeat the underneath coverage in this. But the corners normally have that deep third. They're not going to follow that curl inside and down. But if they do, if that cornerback on the right, let's say, rides that curl inside and down, we'll tag that tight end on a flatten up, which if you saw Kansas City scored on that in the Super Bowl, they call it a wheel route. That's some people call it a wheel. We just call it flatten up. And we probably have scored more touchdowns off of Y flatten up or over on the other side, H flatten up, than any play in our entire offense over the years. And it never seems to fail us. All we have to know is that cornerback, anytime we've got a curl with the wide receivers or even a post with the wide receivers, if the cornerbacks start following those passes inside, then that flatten up is there and we will go right to it. And, of course, when we had James Farrier playing H on that on the left, he led the state in scoring one year, and probably half of his points came off of 57 pass, H flatten up, or H wheel. And the R back is going to, so you got 2 curls, 2 flats, and the R back would check circle. Most of the time we check the R back on a circle over the ball. Not always. We have other routes where he'll run a flat or a swing, but usually we check the R back on a circle over the ball because he's attacking an A gap, B gap linebacker blitz anyway. And he sets sail for that linebacker who's going to hit the A or B gap usually and sits down over the ball if that linebacker doesn't blitz. If the linebacker blitzes, he's got to block him. They get up to the writing there a little bit. Remember, this is that best pass on cover 3. That's good right there. Hold it. 56, 57 pass is an inside-out horizontal stretch because we're progressing on this from R to either H or Y to either X or Z. So it's inside out. And so it says on the snap of the ball, your eyes must be fixed on your trigger read, which triggers you to one side of the field or the other, determining if you're going to go to the call side, which is to the right, or the away side, which is to the left. Now, your trigger read on 56 and 57 pass is the Mike linebacker. On the previous pass, 54, 55, it was a weak safety. And basically, we only read either the weak safety or the Mike linebacker on all that passes. The horizontal stretch from inside out, we will read the Mike backer. If we horizontal stretch from outside in, we will read the weak safety. And on most vertical stretches, we read the weak safety. So our reads are simple, but we work like a Dickens on these, and quarterbacks get pretty good at it. We teach this stuff year-round at quarterback school. Then we, of course, rep it on the field once we get out there with them. But anyway, so your trigger read on 56, 57 pass is a Mike linebacker. He's a middle linebacker in a 4-3. And if there's no middle linebacker facing the center, he's the first inside linebacker past the center on the side away from the call. That's important because if he comes to the call side, he overloads the underneath coverage. But if he doesn't, it's balanced. 2 on each side when they're playing 4 under 3 deep. You must determine no later than your second step away from center which side of the field you're attacking so that you can now begin to look for your progression of receivers and have the proper choice made no later than your 5th step hitting the ground. And once again, if you have been triggered to one side of the field, you stay to that side and never look back to the other side. So here's the way it goes. If the Mike linebacker goes away from the call, which is to the left, or if he blitzes, we're going to go to the call side and we're going to progress from the hook zone, who's the R back, to the curl zone, who's the wide receiver, and to the flat zone, who's the tight end. Now, if the Mike linebacker were to go straight back to the call side, to the right, then we're going to work away from the call and progress inside out from the curl zone, who's the wide receiver, to the flat zone, who is either generally H or Y. And that pass, like I said, is bread and butter against the cover 3. And if the corners are not playing honest and drop into the deep third, and if they're messing with the curl routes, then we'll throw the wheel route as a tag to either H or Y. Like I said, we had all those great H-backs over the years, and the year that Farrier led the state in scoring, I believe he may have scored, I would say he scored half of his touchdowns on this. And we had a little reverse he ran, a running play he scored a lot of touchdowns on, and then the rest of the pass offense, the rub passes we used to use to him. Okay, no questions about that. Take it up to page 5.
All right, Coach, we do have a comment here from Jim Tim. All right. And he's asking about your pass blocking system, Coach. And
All right. Go back to the diagram.
Okay, Coach.
We detailed that last time. That's why he might really need to go back and look at the last lecture. I'll explain it briefly. We tell we're going to fan the call side. So to the right's the call side. So if it's a 34 defense, there'll be a man on the defensive end on the tackle and an outside backer on the tight end. In a 34 defense, and a linebacker over the guard. So if we're going to fan that, the right tackle blocks out on the outside backer, who's the second man on the line of scrimmage. The right guard blocks out on the defensive end on the tackle, who's the first man on the line of scrimmage. And the running back takes the linebacker who's facing the guard. And if that linebacker drops, he's going to go out. The center will have the nose guard. Then we're going to man block the backside. So if we fan block the call side, which is right, we're going to man block the backside. So the center takes the man on him, who's the nose. Left guard has a linebacker, but he'll sit next to the center. In case his linebacker drops, he can double with the center. And the left tackle will take the man on him, who's the defensive end. And the H-back, this is a 34 defense, the H-back will take the man on him, who's an outside backer. And if he comes, H will block him. If he releases, if he drops, H will go out. Now, if that was a 34 defense, then let's say the center's got the middle backer. If he comes, the right guard will have first man on the line, who's a tackle. The right tackle will have second man on the line, who will be an end. The R-back will check out over the Sam backer, who's generally in a 4-3 on the right tackle. And the left guard will have we man from the center back, so the center's got the middle backer, man. Left guard's got the tackle on him, man. The left tackle would have man on whoever's on him. If you counted them out, it would be the number 2 man, and the H would have man on whoever's on him, which would be the number 3 man. So we number on the man side from the center back from the left. Center's got 0, guard's got 1, tackle's got 2, tight end's got 3, H has got 3. On the right side, right guard's fanning out, first man on line, right tackle fans out, second man on line, and the running back takes the linebacker. And I think we have a great write-up on that, a diagram on that. And James Tim can either email me and I'll send him the write-up on this, or he can go back and look at your previous email.
Yeah, Jim Tim, I'm going to put his email up on the screen for you. It's very easy.
Have him email me.
I'm putting it up right now, Coach. Coach Mountjoy at Yahoo.
Bill Mountjoy, not Coach Mountjoy.
Bill Mountjoy. Bill Mountjoy at yahoo.com. Coach, Jim Tim, I met a few weeks ago. He watched every single clinic we did one day when we went from 7 a.m. until 4 p.m. nonstop with different coaches. And he went to East Stroudsburg, and he lives in Rochester, New York, which I think is pretty close to Buffalo. I'm not sure, Coach. I'm not an expert.
I have a great write-up on that pass protection. I'll be glad to send it to him. It's probably 6 or 8 pages on detailing this pass protection. And this is the only protection we use. We fan the call side and we man the back side. And the only other protection we will use would be a turn back protection. But I don't like turning back because you lose some of your receivers who can't get out. But we'll turn back if we get a center and both guards are covered like a bear look. We'll turn back on that. But otherwise, we're going to fan the call side, and man block the backside, fan man. And that's the way I got it from Florida State and from Brigham Young and from the Redskins and Sid Gilman, all these great coaches. All right, so Jim can email me on that. He needs to do that today while I've got a little time if he can.
Oh, Coach, he'll be emailing you, Coach. Jim is a football junkie, Coach. He's a football. He's like us, Coach.
Yeah. I can send him any of the stuff we're talking about in detail. To just ask what he wants, and
okay.
I'm glad to help him. Or you can phone if he needs to talk. But go on up to the next pass.
58-59?
I believe. There it is. 58-59 pass. 58's if we call a pass.
You want the diagram?
Yeah, the diagram. But wait a minute. Leave the writing up there.
All right.
Hold it. It's 58 if we call a pass to the right, and 59 if we call the pass to the left. These are mirrored, just like if you ran a dive play to the right and called it 24 and a dive play to the left and called it 35 or whatever. These are mirrored concepts. Now, once again, the quarterback, he's going to take a 5-step drop. And this, incidentally, is also, along with the 50-51 smash, is our best cover 2 beater. This is great on cover 2. And if you only get quarter, like people now get quarter, half. We throw this pass to the quarter side and throw maybe another pass to the half side, maybe 54, 55. But we always put the pattern that we think is best to the weakness of the coverage. I have another one coming up that's good against all coverages I'll get into. But on this now, you can't see the whole diagram.
I can go down, Coach.
Yeah, whoa, right there. If the middle of the field is open, that's what we tell the quarterback. If the middle of the field is open, that means if there's no safety or nobody in the middle of the field within the framework of the goal post, we're going to throw that post route to the tight end. But if some reason that safety who we think left the middle open jumps that tight end, he might be a hash safety, he jumps the tight end, then we'll go hit the post corner to the flanker. So that is, the middle of the field is open. That's a horizontal stretch progression. And it's very important for anybody that likes this pass offense, or others, for example, to understand the concepts of horizontal stretching and vertical stretching coverages. And we only have 3 concepts. We have 2 horizontal stretch concepts and 1 vertical stretch concept. And I know that Bobby Bowden told me one time that he had probably 90 passes in his playbook, and 30 of them would be in one of the horizontal stretch concepts, and 30 more would be in another horizontal stretch concept, and another 30 might be the vertical stretch concept. And I know, so no matter how many passes you have, if you fit them into these concepts, the quarterback's only learning 3 things. Our quarterback could execute 30, 40, 50 passes in a vertical stretch concept if he understood the principle of the vertical stretch. And that's why I say that I haven't gotten any, nobody's contacted me about more detail on horizontally and vertically stretching defenses. But that's the secret to our system. And like I said, when we had Akins, we broke all the Virginia High School League passing records. And with Gabe Hicks and Pat Manuel, broke all the Virginia High School League passing records with Craig Akins. And when I got this from Gene Cox, or Gene Cox used this at Tallahassee High School in Florida. One year he had a quarterback throw for 50-some touchdown passes and over 5,000 yards passing. That's phenomenal. At Leon High School in Tallahassee, Florida, ran a system as well. But getting back to this pass, so if the middle of the field is open, we're going to look first for Y. But if he falls down or gets jumped before we get the ball to him, then we go to Z. Now, if for some reason, if we had time to go to the third man of that progression, we could come down vertically to R on that swing route. He'll swing out that about where Z lines up. Now, if the middle of the field happens to be closed on that pass, then we're going to forget Y in the middle of the field. Then we're going to progress just from Z to R vertically. So that pass is really important to understand. If the middle's open, it's a horizontal stretch from Y to Z because it's lateral. If the middle's closed, we're going to forget Y and progress vertically from long to short, from the flanker down to the R-back. Take that up a little higher. That's it all on that pass. Go to the next page. That's a cover 2 beater. This is what we call 58Z burst. This pass, more than any pass to offense, Z burst is a tag off the previous pass, which is 58. This pass is probably the best pass we have against all coverages. That takes a quarterback. If you see where Z, who's the flanker out to the right, is Z, you see where if he were to run a post, he would cut at a 45-degree angle. If he were to run a dig, he would cut at a 90-degree angle. Because he's somewhere in between the 45-degree angle on a post, which we have for him, or a 90-degree angle on a dig, which we will have for him. He's running what we call a burst. And he catches the ball, that's a 60-degree angle. And he catches that ball invariably. That's 22 yards deep. And this is almost to the inch. It's 22 yards deep, and it's on on the tight end stem. In other words, you catch the ball right where the tight end was, tight end stem up the field on tight end's tree. And that ball will be completed 22 yards deep. If you have a quarterback that can take 5 steps and zing that ball down there to a spot 22 yards deep, we would put a yellow scrimmage vest on the ground and tell that quarterback, drop back 5 steps, and you might have to, if he's not ready to receive the ball, you might have to step up, bounce in place, a step forward, a hitch or so, and then throw that ball down there to that spot 22 yards deep, about chin high on that receiver. And since he's coming into the pit frame and the ball rotates to the right, he overleads him a little bit. I'm sorry, he doesn't have to. Well, yeah, he would overlead him a little bit because the ball's going to rotate to the right. But anyway, we fit this to all defenses, and we pretty much stay. We don't trigger as much on this. Go back to the top diagram a second. We don't trigger as much to where, let's say, if we read the free safety, if he went to the right, we'd throw a left. You could do that. But we more or less stay to that side. Here's the reason. When Y goes deep, we tell Y, we put a track sprinter at Y, and somebody could fly. We say, you're probably not going to get the ball, but you run like a scalded dog down into the hot dog stand and take that deep back with you, the safety, whoever take him with you. And we would tell R, you get out to the flat, and you hold the underneath coverage. And the flanker's coming open. If he comes open 22 yards deep, the linebackers never drop over 12 yards deep, usually. And the safety is being run off by the tight end. So we tell the flanker, if you get to 22 yards deep and you get there on time, the quarterbacks will hit you under the chin with the ball, and you will be wide open. I never will forget that time, if you remember, I was coaching Virginia Union, and we played a college out of Philadelphia named Cheney State.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they still play football.
No.
We went into overtime against Cheney State, and I call this an overtime, and we hit the flanker, who's E. Harris, who's now coaching at Thomas Jefferson in Richmond. We hit E. Harris on the first play in overtime when we got the ball for a touchdown and won that game against Cheney State. And I never forget Willard Bailey and Luther Palmer said, how did you know to call that pass? I said, well, I knew that E would be wide open. If we get the ball to him, that we would take it in. But take it up where we see it fitting to the defenses. Just keep coming higher. This is a pass I'd recommend. Keep going. Keep going. All right, right there. All right, no, come down a little bit so you can see right above the top of the no, the other way. There. All right, versus a 2-deep pass defense. Can you get that Totem Pole Nation out of that with my email address? Can you wipe that out of that for a second?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right. Versus a 2-deep pass defense. The wingback, that's a flanker. Back when I was using this Virginia Union, we referred to him as a wingback, but he's a flanker. The flanker on the burst route is the primary receiver because he will be about 22 yards downfield when he catches the ball, and the undercoverage is not a problem. And you can see the safety is going with the tight end, and the underneath coverage is influenced by the running back. So the flanker's wide open. Now, go to the right. Now we've got a man under. Let's say on the left is cover 2 zone under. On the middle is cover 2 man under. Against man under, the wingback must delay his inside move just enough for the tight end to clear his defender. So the tight end is running that backer who's got him in 5 under man. He's taking him with him and running through the safety. We call that taking 2. And then the R-back takes the inside linebacker, will be covering him, and the flanker would then again come open 22 yards deep. To the far right, if the strong safety levels to take away the burst route to the flanker, the quarterback reacts and hits the tight end deep. We never had to do that because the safeties wouldn't let the tight end run past them down the field. But in case they did, you have that. I take it to the next one. Go up to where it says versus 3 deep zones. Versus a conventional man-to-man invert or outside rotation like a cover 3, the reaction is the same. That could be cover 1 man or cover 3 zone. The quarterback will go with the wingback unless the free safety comes down, then he'll hit the tight end. Now, in the middle diagram, when the safety levels, the quarterback reacts and hits the tight end. Well, actually, in the first diagram to the left, he's going to hit the flanker, but in the middle diagram, safety's going to come not deep but across. He's going to hit the deep pass, the tight end. Over on the right, if there's an exchange by the strong safety and the outside linebacker, the quarterback must delay his pass until the wingback clears the strong safety. But generally, we're either going to face cover 2, cover 3, cover 4, or man, and this pass is equally as good against all of them. But it does take a quarterback who will take a 5-step drop. Probably going to have to hitch up because the route's not going to be open on his 5th step. You hitch up or maybe bounce in place once or twice, like Gilman would tell him to do. Bounce lightly on your feet until the pattern expresses itself, and then drill that ball down. And we would put that scrimmage vest 22 yards deep, right on top of Y's stem on his route. And the quarterback, we just work in practice, taking that drop, throwing the ball to that spot, telling the wide receiver, you take 7 outside foots back. You take 7 steps down the field. You cut at a 60-degree angle for that shirt and get there. Be sure you get there. We'll find somebody else that can. And wide receiver split on that is 12 yards. All these passes, I should have said this earlier, on all these passes, except for the 54-55 sidelines, we have the wide receiver split 12 yards from the tight end. But on 54-55, which is a double sideline, I should have said this earlier, we bring him into 8 yards so he'll have more room to maneuver to the outside. And that's not a giveaway because you say, well, if the wide receiver split 8 yards, they know you're going to run a sideline pass. No, because we might run a crossing route with him or under mesh, or we might crack a safety. But if a wide receiver split 12 yards, that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to throw the ball on an in-breaking route because he may stalk, block a corner, or block a corner that's on him if he's down. So the proper split by the wide receivers on these 50 series passes, I should have mentioned that earlier. If it's an in-breaking route by the wide receiver, he's going to take a 12-yard split. If it's an out-breaking route by the wide receiver, he's going to take an 8-yard split. And that's really important on this. Now, let me see. I might add that we said the other day when we talked about the 80 series passes that we completed 80-some% of those.
The 60 series? The 60 series?
On the 60 series, we completed 80% of those.
Okay.
And on the 50 series, depending on which quarterback, we're 60 to 65. The better quarterbacks will be 65, close to 70. Drew Brees was over 70% on these. He was like 71% on these passes.
Hey, Coach, I don't know if you said it. You probably did. But can you talk about the history of route running, timing up with the drop of the quarterback, and how like a slant is half of a post? When, you met with Sid Gilman and these guys that started all this modern passing game.
Well, they used to say that a hitch would be like half of a curl and a slant would be like half of a post. And a quick out would be half of a regular out, that kind of a thing. And but timing-wise, we ran routes on steps. And if we're going to run a quick pass where the quarterback dropped 3 steps, we want the wide receiver to take 5 steps. Although some people are now running the slant on 3, but we would take 5 steps, and the quarterback's taking 3. So the golden rule of passing was that the receiver would run 2 more steps than the quarterback. So the quarterback could be set and get the ball out before the receiver breaks. So the quarterbacks would take 3 steps. Wide receiver on the quick series was taking 5 steps, like on the hitch, and the quarterback would get the ball out before the wide receiver turned his head. Now on these 50 series passes, outside puts back, the wide receiver's got to take, depending on the pass, 7 to 9 steps. The inside puts back, he would take 8. And the quarterback would still take that 5-step drop and get the ball out, a 5-step drop and get the ball out before the wide receiver turned his head. And so the golden rule of passing, Bobby Bowden called it that. He used to say the golden rule of passing was that if you have the goal, you're going to rule. And he said that the golden rule of passing was that the wide receiver will take at least 2 steps more than the quarterback. So the quarterback will be set and can get the ball out before the receiver turns his head on timing routes. And that's pretty much what you're talking about there. But on the 60 series, we completed 80% of those plus. And on these 50s, it was the better quarterbacks were 65% plus.
Yeah.
So they're not quite as good. Maybe might be down to 60, but Then now, if you're going downtown with the ball, passes of 18 yards or more, you're lucky to hit 50% of those.
Yeah.
But 6-yard route passes, like a quick series, you're going to hit 80% of them if you coached it right. 12-yard range passes, like curls and outs, you're going to hit 65% of those. Deeper passes, like 18 yards deep, you're going to hit you're lucky to hit 50% of those, maybe 40. Now, this last page on here is a draw trap. And I might add that this is, I got this from Brigham Young when Lavelle Edwards coached them.
I got the book right here, Coach.
Yeah, but anyway, I don't know whether this is in that book or not, but this sheet's one of their play sheets. And they didn't always give away all their secrets in that book, but it's a good book. But still, this draw trap, when they were national champions, and I think that was 1996. I can't be sure.
No, it was way before 96. It was 1980, wasn't it? With McMahon?
No, Robbie Bosco was a quarterback when they won the national championship, I think. But anyway, they completed, I believe it was in the
1984. 1984?
All right, well, maybe, I don't know, Troy. I don't have it in front of me, but I've got all these notes here. But I know that they would run that. They ran that as long as they were there. And the year they were national champs, they averaged 14.5 yards, 14.9, I think, yards per snap on that. And that's a fantastic draw. And we've used other draws, but this may be the best. And it fits in perfectly with these 5-step drop 50 series passes. And it tells you there that everybody sets like a pass. Even the right guard who's pulling to trap that tackle on the left side, outside rushing. Today, most people would refer to him as an end. But that right guard would set, and then he would show pass, then he would pull and trap. Everybody else shows pass and then goes to the blocks that you see on the diagrams. There's more down at the bottom. You don't need to show that yet. And the quarterback would come back. What we did with the quarterback, we'd be looking at that free safety, and we'd come back 1, 2, 3, and he'd slam all brakes and hand the ball off, then come back 4 or 5. Our back would step up like he's going to block that Mike back on the right guard. He'd step up 2 steps and honker down, and then the quarterback would slip in the ball, and he would go to the left and stay inside that guard's trap block. And everybody's assignments is shown and explained, but that is a fantastic draw trap, and it says from the single back formations. And once again, we had an unlimited number of formations, but usually we ran 6 formations. We had 3 formations in the 12 personnel group. One of them was a 2x2 set, and 2 of them 3x1 sets. And that's 12 personnel in that diagram, and that's a 2x2 set because you've got 2 receivers on each side. If that H-back who's over on the left were to go over on the right, that would be a 3x1 set. But he wouldn't do that on this play because he's got to take that will back away after he drops. He releases and then blocks a will backer. But anyway, so we have 3 in the 12 personnel groupings, we have 3 formations we base out of. There can be more. And out of all those, we motion that H-back all over the place, and that does a lot of window dressing, and plus we get him where we need him on the play. And out of 11 personnel, we have 3 more formations. One of them would be this formation you see in front of me, but H would split way out to the left, halfway out to that split end, and that would be 11 personnel because now he's a wide receiver instead of a tight end off the ball. And then we have, out of 11 personnel, in addition to that, we would have 2 where he'd go to the right side and split out over there. So we had 6 basic formations. 3 of them were 12 personnel, and 3 of them were 11 personnel. And I can send those to anybody that wants to see them. I'll send them diagrams. But that draw play was just fantastic right there. And I'm trying to think if there's anything I've left out here that we need to talk about. The main thing, I think, to me, and which is not shown in the diagrams today because we've shown it before, but people need to perhaps, if they're interested in this pass offense, they need to get more information from me on the protection, the diagrams for the protection, and a little bit more on these read concepts, the quarterback's read concepts in these mirror passes. And that's important because if we mirror the routes and we're running full field passing, he knows he's got the route same thing on the right side as he's got on the left side. If he has to go back to the other side, he's going to know where the people are.
Yeah.
It's not going to be any mystery. That mirror concept is huge to us. So people say, well, we don't mirror. And that's fine if they don't want to mirror, but it's helped our quarterbacks. It's helped us a lot. But,
Coach, when do you want to come back on? I don't have school Monday or Tuesday, so we can do something Monday or Tuesday. I'm doing interviews all day. You want to talk about counter power?
Tuesday would be best. Between noon and say 3. You don't need to tell me now. You can get back with me.
Okay.
But look at your schedule. Tuesday between noon and 3. And then if you want to, I would think we can either talk about the pass protections in more depth, into great depth, or we can talk about something I think that people need to look at is some ideas on training the quarterbacks on how to throw the ball, both in terms of technique and drills.
Let's do it.
Because see, if you don't have a quarterback who can throw the ball, I would say next the important qualities of a quarterback, of course, he's got to be intelligent. Brigham Young, Norm Chow always said intelligence was number one.
Yeah.
But you've got to be accurate. Who's going to have a quarterback call a lot of passes when he can't complete?
Yeah.
His accuracy is big, and then you got to have enough toughness. We don't run the quarterback, but he's going to take some hits along the line.
Yes, sir.
The way. So the quarterback's got to be intelligent. He's got to be accurate. He's got to be tough. And we can talk about developing the quarterback himself. I don't see enough information out on that anyway.
We'll do it too.
We can talk about the pass protections because I haven't gotten nearly as deep into the protections. There are 5 basic fronts on defense.
Coach. I got my guy from Texas. Talking about Texas high school football coming up here soon. But we'll do 2 on Tuesday. We'll do quarterback, and then we'll do protections. Yeah. We'll do 2 separate ones.
Yeah, well, call me around 12, but let me know later.
Yeah.
And tell any of these guys who wants in this, Tim wants any of this, so email me right away.
Yes. Thank you, Coach. You're the best.
All right. Talk to you later.
I'll see you.